to be 7 o'clock, which means it's time to open this meeting.
That information ought to be available.
Yes, that's what I'd like to end up doing that. All right, so we are online.
Yep.
Welcome everybody to the July 12th, it's already after the middle of the year, July 12th meeting of the Grafton Planning Board. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the Grafton Planning Board is being conducted with both in-person and remote participation by board members and members of the public. Remote participation by the public for the public comment agenda item. We don't have any public hearings for tonight, somewhat unusually, but for the public comment agenda item and anything else for which the board chooses to take some public input will be via the Zoom Q&A chat or raise hand functions. I think we would prefer it by Q&A, or if you want to speak, you can raise your hand on Zoom and we will bring you into the meeting as needed. In any case, when using Q&A or chat, make sure you give us your name and address or affiliation so that we have a record of who participated in the meeting. And because at least one board member is participating remotely, every vote that the board does take will be taken by roll call. And as always, please note, particularly for Zoom participants, that this meeting is being recorded as well as being broadcast live on the Grafton Community Television Government Channel. I will next proceed with calling the roll of the board members, just as a formality to make sure that everybody can be heard. Justin.
Here.
Linda.
Here.
Bob.
Here.
Prabhu.
Here.
And Dave is here. And staff present is Chris, the town planner, Natalia Allward, staff. We have some members of the public here, or I should, for one of the agenda items, we have people here attending in person. It's great to see you. And we have at least one person participating remotely who is also associated with one of the agenda items. So, with all that having been said, our first agenda item, as usual, is public input. This is for any member of the public who wishes to bring to the board's attention something that's not already on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Now would be the time to speak up. And seeing none, we will proceed with our action item agenda. Action item A is an approval not required plan at 9 George Hill Road. For the Pearies who are present here with us this evening are submitting this. Chris, do you want to introduce this?
Yep, so I can pull up the plans and 1 second. Yep, so this is for property at 9 George Hill Road, and I gotta move my screen here. So this is the A&R plan, and essentially what we're doing here is this is an existing lot which receives frontage and access through this strip here off of George Hill Road. There's an existing house at this location. This parcel A is backland, which actually goes into the town of Upton. A portion of that is being split off and then combined with the land here for Gardenier. And that is essentially still meets the square footage and other kind of aspects, but the most important, the access and frontage. This is existing, and the access is through a shared driveway on this parcel here.
But there's something there along the strip that connects Perry's land with, their frontage.
Correct.
There's, I thought that was a little odd there.
Yeah, so it has this little, foot, if you will, where the 200 feet is along George Hill
Yeah, no.
Road here. And then,
Right.
yeah.
I know all about
Yeah.
that. I was here at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We had quite a discussion to make that happen, as a matter of fact. But there's stuff there about aligning their dotted lines and something about by agreement.
Sorry, the notes. I can go to those.
Looks like maybe what's recorded on the plans isn't quite, or some places.
Is that a note that you're referring to, or the?
There's, you've got 2 pages.
Oh, sorry.
And one of them, 2 pages that show that, well, there, see?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Boundary agreement line, lot line as shown. Maybe,
Yes.
maybe,
So this is the lot line as shown on plan book. That's referencing book and page that's in the Registry of Deeds. Boundary agreement line, I believe that would be in relation to
I think I get it fine.
like an access easement, presumably with the or some other agreement in terms of the common road here. That may not match up exactly, and so they're just calling that out. As
look, I suspect they can make it clearer than, if only they were, well, how about letting them explain to us?
Yes, you'd be, yes, if you can explain a little bit more about that, just
You can
make
say-
yourself at home either at the podium or the table, whichever is more comfortable.
Tim Peary, 9 George Hill Road. When we were having the survey done to reconfigure Lot 2, a discrepancy was found between previous surveys. And rather than close on the more recent plan, we wanted to iron this out. And so there's a boundary line agreement that's in the process of being drawn up. The 3 parties all agree to that. It's simply a matter of getting it executed. And they'd be the people at 13 George Hill Road, Mariah Cause, and 7 George Hill Road, Altmar Bartons. And you can see there's a shard there. It was a survey that followed the stone wall, and there were 2 interpretations of that, and we simply want to iron that out. They were all done before, and it's not something we just don't want to carry forward. So this is subject to that agreement, which will be recorded after this plan hopefully is approved and we get the paperwork done. It's not just the 3 parties agreeing, but it's a mortgagee also agreeing to this shard being shared.
Yeah, it's important, I think, because that strip is important to your
Yes,
connection of where the lines, the dotted lines are, produces a problem.
yes.
Or illustrates a problem. But if you can make the plan match the real world after we approve it.
Yes,
Yeah, so as if I understood you correctly, what's labeled on the plan as a boundary agreement line is the boundary that will be memorialized in this agreement that is now being worked.
it is. And that's the same line that the planning board approved in 2003 for this lot.
18 years ago.
And that, by the way, was I'll call it the seed crystal for the common drive bylaw, which didn't exist before then, but it did afterwards. So, yeah.
I did, when I was trying to sort this out, I went to the town, geographic, what do they call it, the website?
GIS?
GIS.
GIS, I guess. And up at the, town line, the town site shows a little, it doesn't matter to this, but it shows a little flag kind of off that this plan doesn't show. This plan just shows a straight line on across.
Yeah, I noticed that, and actually, I'll pull that up to show that.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that,
Yeah.
I would
in
defer
that
to the
area.
surveyor, because that's,
Yeah. if I were-
GIS
yeah,
can be,
yeah.
comes with a disclaimer, so, but it's this portion here that is shown in Upton on our GIS system, it shows it.
Actually, our GIS system doesn't show anything in Upton. It only shows the Grafton part, which ends right at the left edge of that yellow square. But it shows what's now going to be called Parcel A, having a piece that goes that way.
Yeah, the,
Can't see any reason for it.
yeah, I noticed that too, and did a little bit of looking and, looking at that plan that we, that this board, the A&R plan this board approved 18 years ago. And looking at the measurements and looking at the visual representation on the GIS, the visual representation on the town GIS is way off from the numeric measurements of the boundary lines. And that 2003 plan actually showed the town line in the wrong place. It was labeled approximate town line, but the bottom line is that plan, the town line was drawn on that plan in the wrong place. And whoever transcribed that into the GIS, kind of, wanted to keep that hook on the Grafton side, when in fact that hook is substantially into the Upton side. That hook that jogs up. But the numbers all match up. I looked enough to say the numbers all match up. I'm confident that this survey shows things correctly.
I didn't think that, I tried to make that work too, but the length of the extended part wasn't proportional to, so anyway,
Yeah.
I don't think that matters.
No, I think certainly, it's fair for us to assume that this surveyor did the job correctly, and that what's before us now is to take that one piece of land that's now in Grafton on Peary's property and hook that into the Gardner property.
Well,
And you may be doing something more on the
No,
Upton side.
well, we're not hooking it into their property. We're
We're-
just saying there's a Parcel A
there's a
that
parcel.
you'll be doing something
The
with
parcel-
when you
Right.
want to.
We're not
Yes,
hooking
and
it.
our intention
Oh.
is to move that along to abutting property for combination.
Yes.
In any case, it seems to me that our job is to decide whether this constitutes a subdivision, and I don't think it does. So,
Yes, although the plan looks complicated and raises some questions, our job with respect to this appears to be straightforward.
yeah, see, we got to check these things out every 18 years. Figure it out.
Let us be here for the next one, Bob.
No.
Have we
Not in this
talked about it
room.
enough yet?
I
Any,
think so.
any other questions or comments from the board or anybody?
This is
I move that we find that approval is not required and authorize the planner to sign.
Second.
Moved and seconded, the board find approval is not required and authorize the planner to sign on behalf of the board. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Prabu?
Wake up.
Bravo.
I'm gonna dropped off, actually.
Yeah, Prabu's off at the moment.
Well, you got 4 votes.
And
That's all we
Dave will vote aye, so I declare the motion carried by a vote of 4 in favor, none against. In other words, unanimous of all the board members who are currently in the meeting. And thank you, and good luck you progressing with your various other activities that are connected to this.
Aging, yeah. Thank you all for being here and all you do.
Thank you.
Where's Brooke?
Prabu is rejoining us.
Give him another chance to vote.
Yeah, Prabhu, 4 of us voted in favor of the A and R. Do you want to put your vote in favor of it so we can make it truly complete and unanimous?
Yes, I vote in favor.
Okay.
Oh, he's gone.
Let the record show that the full board voted unanimously in favor of this A and R. Okie dokie. Moving on to the next agenda item, we have a draft decision for the modification of site plan approval at 84-94 Creeper Hill Road.
Yes. So I was able to pull that together, the draft decision. I apologize that came this morning. I'm still catching up on stuff from being on vacation, so I'll be more timely in the future. But either way, it's I think a fairly straightforward decision. Of note, there were no waivers, but I did include the findings and conditions that we normally would for a decision of this type.
I read over the decision. I didn't see anything that I felt I needed to comment on in any way whatsoever. Any other board members have any comments on this decision, suggestions, questions?
This was pretty straightforward. Well said.
So I did have, and I'll reach out to the applicant for this, I did have just one little caveat, which I don't think is substantial to this decision, but in referencing the previous decision, which we normally do, I noticed that the 2008, the original decision, 2008 1.1, was filed with the clerk, but I could not find any record of it on the Registry of Deeds. This does happen, and it's one of those kind of limbo moments, so I'll be requesting that the applicant record both decisions. But in condition 1, you'll see that I referenced as filed with the town clerk to avoid any confusion there.
Okay. Thank you for picking that up. Okay.
So I guess if there's nothing else to be said about this, the chair would be willing to recognize a motion to approve this decision as drafted.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded that this decision be approved as drafted. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Put it to a vote. Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
and Dave votes aye. Declare the motion carried unanimously. This decision has been approved and will be issued forthwith. Filed with the town clerk and all the other things that have to happen with it. Alrighty, we've got one more action item, which would be a draft decision at 23 North Brigham Hill Road for an accessory apartment. Any comments or questions about this draft decision?
No.
I think. Trying to remember if I saw something in this one.
There are a number of waivers which the board may wish to discuss for this one. They're normal for accessory apartments, but
Yeah. Yeah, this is basically
in terms of a motion.
I was interested in the family, the language, or the terms used,
Yeah.
very, very precise terms in that. I think that's a refinement on our past,
Yeah, so one of the things, and many communities with accessory apartments follow similar things, and what I did in this decision is switching to, rather than trying to define family, which obviously is a difficult and contentious thing in But a legal term that has been used, and I'm not a lawyer, but that I've seen as the best way of getting that intention without getting into defining family was the consanguinity or affinity, which is either related by marriage or otherwise. It's
I looked up affinity and there were other meanings for it, of course,
Yeah.
and I hope that they don't fit there. But I like that. We had, keep saying it differently, but the times are changing too, so that's part of.
maybe something that we want to review in the future. But yeah.
Yes, there,
For that, it might be even a good idea to get some input from legal counsel as to exactly what kind of wording,
Well-
really is as unambiguous, but still is inclusive, if you will.
I thought it looked pretty good. You get marriages now, and I don't think the word it restricts what marriage, so I think that covers where there might be questions arising in the modern day.
Okay,
all right.
no problem with it.
So I move that we approve this decision, including granting the appropriate waivers with any discussion that we may have in deliberation.
And making the findings, I don't
Make
know.
it- Yes.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded that the board approve this decision, including favorable findings and granting all the requested waivers, all the conditions, all as drafted, subject to any modifications made during discussion of the motion.
Second. All right,
It's already been seconded, I'm just reiterating the motion.
yeah, so moved. I'm,
Yeah,
yeah.
We all know what
she's
we're
gonna
trying
make
to
a
do here.
motion sooner or later.
Yeah. So any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, we'll put this to a vote. Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
And Dave votes aye. The motion is carried unanimously. The paperwork for the decision will flow through its process as quickly as possible. And we'll hope that our applicants can proceed with their project with all due haste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And that concludes the board's action item agenda for this evening. Moving on to discussion items, is there anything on the complete streets draft?
So there's not. I will get to that and hopefully have a draft policy before the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item is Mill Redevelopment Overlay District. I assume we have nothing more on that. That CMRPC is working on it, as we discussed a couple meetings back.
Correct. Yep.
On the subdivision rules, where we're at with that is I've done everything I want to do with it. I think I've mentioned this at the previous meeting, that our next steps really are to have the board review all the proposed changes and discuss and make any further changes that we think we need to do in order for this to be something that the board as a whole feels comfortable putting forward. In addition to the board, I'm interested in getting further comments, if any, from staff here, particularly with respect to those aspects of the rules that deal with what work the staff has to do, processing application, materials submitted, procedural types of things. I'm interested in getting any engineering feedback from our Department of Public Works, from Graves Engineering, and I think, Chris, you had mentioned that VHB might have something, something that that they would be willing to review and comment on. So, it just for that for the three engineers or engineering departments or organizations that I would like to make sure that everything we've done in here is consistent and acceptable from an engineering point of view.
I don't think you need a vote to proceed on that line, do you?
No, I don't think that. That's
All
just, we just want to say.
Make it so.
If there's one thing that we might want to take the time to do tonight is, or at least I want to call your attention, I drafted a document summarizing all of the changes. The previous documents, I've listed the changes made in each draft, but I pulled together everything and developed one document titled Subdivision Rules and Regulations Summary of 2021 Changes. It might be worthwhile for us, either if you want to take any time to do that tonight, or if not, between now and the next meeting to review that and see if there's anything in there that anybody finds objectionable or would like to have done a little differently. This again tries to, this ultimately I wrote this with the intention of this being made available to the public as, here's what we're doing in this particular raft of subdivision rules changes, because there's a lot. A lot in quantity, not so much in concept, but there's a lot. So, for the first thing that you might want to look at as a board is, of all these things listed, are we all comfortable with the changes as described here? The next question, of course, is do the changes to the actual document, are they consistent with this? And hopefully they are, because this attempted to be a summary of what, going through the document, I could see. So I don't know if we want to take any time to review this tonight. If you haven't already had a chance to look through it, maybe it's best to read through it and come prepared to comment on that at the next meeting, and then we'll take it from there.
It seems like the other inputs, any inputs from us can all come at the same time. We don't have to do some now and
Yep.
then hear some more, and then just all come together. We could make this happen by just scheduling the public hearing. I think it's a hearing.
Yes, it is a public hearing that we, to ultimately adopt these, we hold a public hearing. After the public hearing, we revise it to whatever extent we need to as a result of the public hearing. We then vote to adopt it, file it with the town clerk, and then after, I think it becomes effective after we file it with the town clerk. But I haven't really gotten to the reviewing the precise rules, but that's basically what we have to do. So just as a, like I said, as kind of a broad brush, this summary document should be a fairly complete explanation of what we're trying to do here. But yeah, I think I would. It sounds like it would be probably most agreeable to the board if we solicit that feedback from staff and engineers, and once we've received that, we can then review everything kind of in one fell swoop. So again, like I'd certainly be interested if any of you see anything in the summary of changes that could be problematic, or that could be of some matter of concern or needing some discussion. This is at kind of a high level. We can address that. Anything that might come up in our minds, address that at the next meeting, and along with however soon we can get feedback from the engineers and staff. That may or may not be doable within 2 weeks, but I'd just like to make sure we get it put out there, get any final review done so that we can actually wrap this up and say, we're done.
We can start collecting ideas for the next set of changes.
My only question that has come to mind is, do we want to solicit input from the Conservation Commission regarding, like for the bullet point on the changes page, added references in the text to drainage layer and sub-drain detail diagrams? Is that worth it?
I think during the public hearing process, that would be the best time to notify. I can do an extra distribution to relevant boards and committees to solicit their input from the public
Yes,
hearing.
that definitely be worthwhile. That particular topic likely falls in the category of engineering review. That's That's the sort of thing I would expect the engineers to comment on, because it has to do with drainage engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they would probably end up, conservation would end up deferring to
Right.
engineering.
Makes
But
sense.
certainly,
I would hope so.
all interested boards and committees will be invited to review and comment on this. But yeah, that particular item is one of those engineering details I want to make sure. I've had some discussions with Brian and with Jeff, and so much of my, I mean, everything they've fed back to me has been incorporated, but you know, it wouldn't hurt for them all to take another look at, here's what we've come up with. Did we misinterpret anything you said? Did we miss something? Are we saying something here that it turns out to be not compatible with current engineering practice? So yeah, is there anything else we want to bring up on this topic tonight? If not, moving on to the agenda item under general business, we have bills.
Move, we pay them.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we pay bills. Is there any discussion of that motion?
All the ones that were presented to us.
Yes. Hearing no discussion, we'll put that to a vote. Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
And Dave votes aye. Motion carried unanimously.
Aye.
We can pay the bills. Minutes of previous meetings. We have the minutes of the July 8th meeting before us for approval.
I move that we approve the minutes for July 8th.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the minutes for July 8th be approved. I take it be approved as drafted.
Yes.
All right. Any discussion of that motion? I didn't see anything in the minutes that
No,
I would
neither did
suggest
I.
changing.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yes, that was an easy meeting to write minutes for. So, no further discussion. Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
And Dave votes aye. Motion carried unanimously. The minutes are approved. Staff report.
So not much to report this week. Just been catching up. I did attend a couple meetings, one of which was with Evan, and we attended a meeting, kind of introductions with representatives from CMRPC. Obviously, I think a lot of us are familiar with CMRPC, and I'm sure he is as well. But it's always nice to be able to meet and kind of discuss. We looked at ongoing projects that we're doing with CMRPC, and potential opportunities that they're looking for on a regional scope moving forward. So
Who'd you talk to?
it was Trish, Janet, and Sujatha all
Oh,
attended.
okay.
So
You
yeah,
got you got the
yeah.
top of the pile there.
So
Send it on stuff.
but that's mainly all I have for.
All right. Under the topic of correspondence, is there anything in the correspondence
Yes.
of note? I see one item, the very top of the correspondence, we have a
Yes.
citizen activity form from a Maura McCormack who is applying for the associate position. I don't know if any other applications came in.
I don't believe so.
I don't.
I do have to do
I'm
a
interested in this form. I've never seen this form before. Is this something new?
I believe it may be an updated form. I think we were looking at kind of digitizing
This,
some
I mean,
of the old.
I think this or something very similar has been on the website for a number of years for everything. When people
All right.
apply through the website for a position on the board or committee,
Yeah.
it ends up getting
Because I'm.
put into this.
I haven't. There are two or three things on this form that I was interested in. I don't know whose appointment to. I'm not sure what to make of the boards and committees section at the bottom. Is that something that was on something on the website, or did the applicant put those in?
I believe the applicant selects what boards and committees they are interested in one go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're down here, but then up above, I think the idea is maybe that our position isn't on that. These other positions are on it.
That's how I would interpret that.
So, I hope that they, I hope that it's clear whose delegates to the CMRPC are being solicited and who would make their appointments, because there's both us and the select board. The Grafton Center Study Committee is our committee. I created it as a subcommittee of the planning board, unless this is a different one. I created it as a subcommittee of the planning board with the ability to take in people other than planning board people eons ago. And so whoever is doing this should know about that. And then somewhere, this person, Maura,
More.
says they see that it's an elected office, and it isn't. The associate is not an elected office, so I'm wondering if there's something posted someplace, or was posted someplace that was wrong, or whether it was just misunderstood.
It's, yeah, my guess would be that it was, it was left somewhat unclear as to how one applied for the associate seat. And someone who's not particularly familiar is going to look at the town website and see that the planning board is elected. They were directed to the boards and committees application area, which apparently wasn't really clear how to go about saying, I want to apply for the associate seat. So she did the best she could here, I think.
I had a go-around about pushing the front office about that this hadn't been put out. And part of that was passing on the quotes from the bylaw so that the information was there. What got put out is a lot better than what usually gets put out. But this is another oddball. It doesn't work like most of them.
Yep.
We don't want anyone to.
So in any case, the appointment for the associate seat will be on an upcoming select board agenda that's generally done as a joint meeting between the select board and the planning board. Natalia on the chat says it's tentatively on the agenda for the 20th, which will be a week from tomorrow. So we shall see. But, if all goes well, after a week from tomorrow, we'll have a new associate. And whether it's this one or if I suspect if anybody else applied by the deadline, which was 2:00 last Friday afternoon, we would probably see that in the correspondence.
Yeah.
So was there anything else in correspondence we need to pay attention to?
Not that I saw, no.
Okay. Do we have any reports from planning board representatives on town committee and CMRPC?
You can go with the library building planning committee. We had the tour, the meet and greet yesterday with the Friends of Library and the campaign committee, I forget the name. If you have not been to the site, please do visit the library, the new library building. It's beautiful, it's awesome. And once the furniture and the books come over, it's going to be great.
You mean they're not going to open the library without furniture and books?
Blame it on the Suez Canal. We don't have the
What I want to
furniture,
know
it's-
is about the trim color. They've now painted most of the trim, or put color on most of the trim with a light tan sort of color, sand color. But there are certain places that are white, and I'm just puzzled about all that. If you find out, let me know.
Sure. You had asked that, Bob, a couple of meetings ago. I actually found that, and I think either I sent an email or I posted that on our Windows. I'll check that again.
Yeah.
Any other reports from planning board representatives and town committees and CMRPC? Hearing none, is there any other item which may lawfully come before the board?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded that this meeting be adjourned. We'll call a roll for all those in favor. Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Prabu,
Aye.
and Dave votes aye. This meeting is adjourned.